Hi, I'm Riordan, and this is Off the Decks with Capital Dance. So, what was the first rave you ever went to? So, it depends what you count as a rave. There's a big horse racing event called Goodwood 3 Friday Nights where I grew up, and they have DJs. It was Gorgon City, and that was the first kind of big DJ set that I saw. The first festival I went to when I was 16 was Boardmasters. Name a dream back-to-back partner that you've not yet shared the stage with. I'd probably say Chris Dussy. I think he's just top tier every time I see him, and yeah, it would be amazing to back-to-back with him at one point. Think back to when you were first getting into dance music. Who is one name that stands out as a huge influence on your passion? I think that in terms of the sound that I play right now, it would have to be Seb Zito. I saw him at Miami Music Week when I was kind of first getting into the DJ scene, and his sound just completely changed the game for me. That kind of garagey house vibe, it really inspired me, and kind of changed the direction of where I was going musically, so I'll say that. Take us back to the DJ ironing board days. Where did you get that idea from, and how did your mum feel about you borrowing her ironing board? So people ask me this. It was literally just, I didn't have a DJ table. Like, I just didn't have something to put them on, and it was a good height. Like, the ironing board is kind of higher than a normal table, and it's portable, so it made sense. There was nothing more to it than that, but I guess it kind of stuck, and I became known for it in a weird way. So yeah, that's really the story behind it. Very simple.
What did your mum think?
What did my mum think of it? Honestly, she finds it funny, man. She loves it. She thinks that her ironing board's kind of famous, and I think that's funny. What are some tips you have for aspiring DJs and producers to get themselves noticed? I would say, don't be afraid to promote your music, you know? Like, I kind of always had the mindset of, what's the point in spending all this time making my music if no one's gonna hear it? So just making sure that you're not afraid to put yourself out there, promote your music, send it to DJs, post it online, do anything you can to get it in front of people, really. If you're gonna put all that time and effort into learning how to make music and making music itself, then you wanna try and get it out and get it heard. What current DJs are inspiring you the most? There's a few, well, there's a lot really. I think that, as I mentioned before, Chris Dussy for sure. Silver Bumper, I think, is doing a really amazing job at the moment, and I love what he's doing for the kind of garagey side of the scene. And Luke Dean as well. Yeah, he's really inspiring me musically for sure. I think he's been killing it the last year or so. Barely put out a bad record at all, so everything he puts out is great. If you had to choose one track to open all your sets with for the rest of your career, what would it be? This is tough because I feel like my tracks are kind of like peak time tracks, you know? That's like the music that I make. They're like either very euphoric or like very heavy. So they're not really the best opening tracks. I think that out of them, I'd have to go for my new one with Silver Bumper actually, because it's kind of got the first drop is a bit more mellow, and then the second drop brings the energy, and I feel like that's a nice way to kind of like open the set. You don't want to immediately come out swinging, straight off the bat like that on the first drop. So yeah, that's kind of going to be my choice for this one. You've had a ton of support from big names such as Ketama, Prosper and Gorgon City. Talk to us about the UK scene and the support you've received. I mean, yeah, these names have been huge for me. Gorgon City were the first people to support any of my music, and Needle on the Record really changed my life, so I'm always going to be grateful to them. And then yeah, like Ketama recently has been supporting loads of my stuff, and he's doing an amazing job at the moment. And yeah, I mean, it's always a great feeling to see people that you kind of really respect playing out your music. It's it's really rewarding. It's one of the best parts, I think, about producing in the first place.
Did it feel sort of full circle that you went from seeing Gorgon City as your first DJ set to then now signing your record?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you do think back to the full circle, because as I mentioned, I was like 15 maybe when I first saw them, 14, something like that. So to go from watching them there and seeing them and being like, wow, these are just at like the top tier, it felt like, of DJing, and then for them to sign one of my records just a few years later when I started producing, and now I'm sort of fortunate enough to call them good friends of mine. It's pretty surreal, and sometimes when I'm hanging out with them, I'm like, wow, 15-year-old me would not believe it right now. But yeah, it's really cool. You've been in the studio with some big names. Who has been a name you've most enjoyed working with? So 2 people spring to mind. First of all, it's Silver Bumper. We had a great time in the studio, and that was the first time we'd ever met, and we immediately pumped out a tune in like a few hours. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the other guy that comes to mind is Danny P, who I've made countless records with. Yeah, Jump Higher, Revolution 909, and many other unreleased tracks. We just hop on Zoom together all the time and just show each other music, and most of the time end up making something together. So yeah, those are probably the 2 names which I love making music with the most. You've spent a lot of time in the US. How do crowds differ there from those in the UK? Less so lately. So I think that when I first started touring there, not that I'm a veteran, but I started touring there a year and a half ago maybe, and even the difference between then and now, I think that with social media and how big house music is on TikTok and Instagram now, I think that it's just converting so much more across what's happening in the UK. So yeah, I feel like the crowds that I've been experiencing lately, the energy is getting better and better. They know all of the same music that the UK crowds know as well. I do think still the UK crowds are probably a little bit rowdier on the whole, but the US crowds are definitely getting better and better, and it's amazing to see, honestly.
Do you think there's as much like a divide between like the UK and the US sound as there might have been like 5 years ago?
Nah, definitely not. I think, as I say, 5 years ago, I feel like the UK and US sounds were pretty much completely different. But I guess it's just because of social media and also how big house music is getting now. You know, you look at the lineups for all these festivals like Coachella even, and most of the lineup is now dance music, it's electronic music, and that was not the case 5 years ago. So I think just how big it's getting now, it's translating a lot better. But yeah, I just played in Atlanta, and I decided to close my set with Breather, Chris Dussy, like one more song. And I've actually never played that song live before, but I was like, I don't know, I just felt like it. It's always on my USB. And man, they sounded like a UK crowd, like the way they were singing it back. And I was like, if I'd have dropped that a year and a half ago, I don't think that would have been the case. So yeah, it's cool to see. You were gate crashed by Yo Gabba Gabba at Coachella last year. What was going through your head when they popped up on stage? A lot of things were going through my head when they popped up on stage. So I actually spoke about this recently, and it didn't seem to land very well, but you gotta just put yourself in my shoes. I'm playing like the biggest set of probably my career so far, and I didn't know what they were, and probably some of the people watching this don't know what they are. They kind of look like Teletubbies. They're like costume, I don't know, people, and they came out on my stage, and yeah, I mean, I was confused, I was angry, I guess, but I do find it funny now. And to be honest, I found it funny pretty much immediately after. It was just that initial moment of like, what is going on right now, when they actually first came on stage. And if people don't get that, that's fair enough. But I think if you were in my shoes, you'd probably feel the same way.
So you had no idea they were coming on?
Zero, man. Zero whatsoever. I didn't even know what they were. So yeah, I wish they'd just given me a bit of pre-warning, and then maybe I would have been able to, you know, process it a little bit better. You've got an ear for a good sample. What is one classic song that you'd love to sample or have an edit of? Whether or not you can call it a classic, it depends on your definition. Best Be Believing by Luna George, and specifically the Shadow Child remix. Recently I did an edit of with a couple friends of mine. That one is, for me, kind of a classic growing up in the UK. It's got that kind of 2016 house vibe to it. I think it was around that time. And yeah, for me growing up, it's got that nostalgia feel. So I'd love to have an official remix of that one. Been playing the edit out a lot. We'll see what happens. What is the moment you've been most proud of so far? Coachella's probably up there for sure. Playing Coachella last year was an insane moment. And then I would also just say bringing my family with me to shows. I brought my mum and sister out to New York when I played the Brooklyn Storehouse recently, and to have them with me on stage, sort of playing out to these big crowds. Yeah, it's a really surreal feeling, and that's probably the times when I feel like most happy on the decks. What's one bucket list thing you want to tick off in 2026? Manifest it here. Okay, so now we can go back to the first question. The biggest event in my hometown was Goodwood 3 Friday nights. It's in a small town, Chichester, where I grew up in the south coast of the UK, and they do horse races and then they have big DJs on afterwards. So as I said, Gorgon City played there, they had MK, they've had Mark Ronson, they've had so many amazing DJs over the years that I've seen there. That for me is kind of like a massive full circle pinnacle moment that I'd say I'm working towards. So I'm hoping that I can lock that in for this summer, because being able to actually play there, the biggest show in my hometown where I grew up, yeah, that would be pretty crazy. Finally, in 5 years' time, what do you want a Riordan set to be known for? I mean, my sound changes and evolves all the time, so it's hard to predict where I'm going to want to be in 5 years' time, because where I was 5 years ago was a lot different to where I am now musically. So I think that I can only talk based on where I'm at now, and I'm really trying to combine and find a synergy between the kind of garagey side of house music and then also the euphoric side, and you can see that in my last tracks. Like Party Out is kind of in the more like garagey, it's more heavy, and then you've got Revolution 909, which has got that kind of euphoric vibe to it. So for me, I'm just trying to find a synergy between those and find something that feels unique and fresh. So I'd say that's what I'm aiming for. Let's see how we go.